Everyone, I'm going to rotate you and you guys can see the fountain. One second, I'll put you in this first, that way I can get my gloves on and off. Alright, how's everyone's day going? Mine has been eventful. I had pizza today, so can't go wrong there. Nice look at the fountain. The video didn't save from last time, so we're going to record one chapter and make sure it saves this time, and the next tomorrow we'll do 5 chapters and 2 that we already did, so catch up. But we'll make sure we have a video for today. Gloves are on. Today is September 6th, 2022, and it is a Tuesday. And my name is Kyle Eric Waite, also known as Gloomist the Vex on Twitch. Let's begin. So we last talked about that Cluny was wanting to steal the portrait of Martin. And so here's our picture. Looks like the Abbey. Chapter 13. The sun's first rays flung wide the gates of dawn. The inhabitants of Redwall were already up and about. After breakfast, the abbot issued daily orders. All those not employed defending the abbey would husband the crops and gather in supplies for the larders in the event of a prolonged siege. Young otters collected watercress and fish. Cornflower headed a party of mice to reap the early cereal crops. More youngsters tended the salad gardens. The bright summer morning hummed to the bristle of industrious woodlanders. Ambrose Spike, now sufficiently recovered, sat in the storeroom taking stock. Lots of nuts and preserved berries from last autumn, apples and pears aplenty. Unfortunately, the hedgehog could not check the cellars. Brother Edmund and Friar Hugo had the only 2 keys. He licked his lips at the thought of the barrels of nut brown ale, strong cider, creamy stout, and the little kegs. Oh, dear, the little kegs, full of elderberry wine, mulberry brandy, black currant port, and wild grape sherry. Your edge pig, where us a putting these roots and dandelions. Hasten up, them right heavy. Ambrose sighed wistfully as he attended the 2 moles staggering under a barrel of dandelions and tubers. Our gold, little taters steady. Bill, you're tipping them, or up, let go. More baby moles. Andros pawed the bandage on his wound. The hedgehog's work was never done. Matthias and Constance stood in the cloisters. They had taken charge of weapon training. The Woodlanders were each showing off their special skills in more peaceful days. These skills had only been used at fairs and sporting contests, but now, when the need arose, they would be used for more deadly effect. The otters carried bags of smooth pebbles which they hurled from vine slings with great force and accuracy. Groups of field mouse archers notched thistledown shafts to the strings of their longbows. Many a marauding bird had been driven off by these same tiny archers. Bands of Redwall mice practiced practiced at thrust and parry with their staves. Below the abbey wall, the below the wall, the abbey grass formal directed his crew as they dug a trench. It was lined with sharp stakes by a solitary beaver. A system of ropes and pulleys carried the baskets of stone and trench debris up to the ramparts. Defenders piled it up in heaps at the edge of the parapet. Matthias took a group of Redwall mice to instruct in the use of the quarterstaff. He had discovered in himself a natural skill with the long ash pole. None of the mice had ever competed in any type of violent sport. They were awkward and timid, but it was a personal choice between learning cudgel and wrestling from Constance or quarterstaff from Matthias. To a mouse they had opted for the latter. Matthias found he had to be quite severe with them. Accordingly, he dealt out some hefty blows and hard falls to make the more timid souls angry enough to retaliate. Keep the head guarded, Brother Anthony. Thwack! I warned you, brother. Now look out, I'm coming at you again. Thwack! No, don't just stand there, brother. Defend yourself. Hit out at me. Thwack, crack! This time, Matthias sat down hard, rubbing dazedly at his sore head. Constance chuckled. Well, Matthias, you've only yourself to blame. You asked Brother Anthony to hit you, and my word, he certainly obliged. I'll have to recruit him for my cudgel class. He shows promise. Matthias stood up, smiling ruefully. He tested his staff. Yes, he's very strong, but I do wish we had some real weapons of war, swords and daggers and such like. We won't kill many rats with wooden staves. Maybe not. But you must remember that we are here to defend, not to attack or kill. Matthias threw down his staff. He took a dipper of water from an oaken pail, drinking deeply, then slashing the remains over his aching head. A wise observation, Constance, but you're telling that to Cluny and his horde. You try telling that to Cluny and his horde. See how far you get. Lunch that day was served out in the orchard. Matthias lined up with the other woodland creatures to collect his food, a bowl of fresh milk, a hunk of wheaten loaf, and some goat's milk cheese. Cornflower was serving. She gave Matthias an extra large wedge of cheese. He rolled up his sleeve of his habit and pulled out the corner of her scarf. Look, Cornflower, a very close friend gave me this last night. She laughed at him. Get along and eat your lunch, warrior mouse, or I'll show you my deadly aim with this piece of cheese. Or I'll show you my deadly aim with a piece of cheese. Strolling through the dappled shade of the orchard, Matthias sought out old Methuselah. Slumping down beneath a damson tree, the young mouse munched away at his lunch. Methuselah was sitting with his back against the tree, his eyes closed in apparent doze. Without opening them, he addressed Matthias. How goes the war practice, young staff master? Matthias watched some of the tiny ants carrying off his fallen breadcrumbs as he answered. As well as possible, Brother Methuselah. How are your studies coming along? Brother Methuselah squinted over the top of his spectacles. Knowledge is a thing that one cannot have enough of if it is the fruit of wisdom. It is the fruit of wisdom, to be eaten carefully and digested fully, unlike that lunch you are bolting down, little friend. Matthias set his food to one side. Tell me, what knowledge have you digested lately, old one? Methuselah took a sip from Matthias's milk bowl. Sometimes I think you are a very old head for such a young mouse. What more do you wish to know about Martin the warrior? Matthias looked surprised. How did you know I was going to ask about Martin? Methuselah wrinkled his nose. How do the bee folk know where there is pollen in a flower? Ask away, young one, before I doze off again. Methuselah hesitated a moment and then blurted out, Brother Methuselah, Tell me where Martin lies buried. The old mouse chuckled dryly. Next, you're going to ask me where to find the great sword of Martin the warrior. But how did you know that? Stammered Matthias. The ancient gatehouse keeper shrugged his thin shoulders. The sword must lie buried with Martin. You would have to little use for the dusty bones of a begone hero. A simple deduction, even for one as old as I am. Then you know where the warrior lies, Methuselah shook his head. There is a thing no creature knows. That is a thing no creature knows. For many years now, I have puzzled and pored over ancient manuscripts, translating, following hidden trails, always with the same results. Nothing. I have even used my gifts of tongues, speaking to the bees and others who can go into small places for us, but always it is the same rumors and legends and old mouse tales. Matthias crumbled. More bread for the ants. The warrior's sword is only a fable? Methuselah leaned forward indignantly. Who said that? Did I? No, but... Bah! Nothing of the sort. Young mouse, listen carefully. To me, I have an uncanny feeling that you may be the one I have been saving this vital piece of information for. Matthias forgot his lunch. He listened attentively. About 4 summers ago, I treated a sparrowhawk who had pulled a sinew in her foot. She could not use her talons properly. As I remember, I made her promise never to take a mouse's prey. She was a fierce fighting bird. Have you ever come up close to a sparrowhawk? No, of course you haven't. Well, let me tell you, they can hypnotize small creatures with those savage golden eyes. Born killers they are. But this hawk said something that made me think. She talked of sparrows, called them winged mice, and said that many years ago they had stolen something from our abbey, a treasure that belonged to the mice. Wouldn't say what it was, just flew off. Huh. Who expects gratitude from a sparrowhawk anyway? Matthias interrupted. Have you ever spoken to the sparrows about this something? Methuselah shook his head. I'm too old. I can't climb to the roof where they nest. Besides, the sparrows are odd birds, forever quarreling and chatting in their strange voices. They are warlike creatures, extremely forgetful and completely savage. They throw you from the roof and kill you before you had a chance to get near their tribal nest. Yes, I'm far too old for that sort of thing, Matthias. And anyhow, I'm not too sure that a sparrowhawk's story was true. Some birds can be dreadful liars when they have a mind to be. Matthias tried questioning Brother Methuselah further, but the warm sun had worked its magic upon the old gatekeeper as he sat in the orchard savoring the peace and tranquility of a June afternoon. This time, there was no deception. He was genuinely fast asleep. We'll pick up on chapter 14 tomorrow, chat, and everyone else who wants to be. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm going to sing you the Marine Corps hymn, and then we're going to call the stream. All right. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land, and the sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Our flags unfurled to every breeze, from dawn to setting sun. We have fought in every clime and place where you could take a gun. In the snow of far-off northern lands, and in sunny tropic scenes. You will find us always on the job, the United States Marines. Here's health to you and to our corps, which we are proud to serve. In many a strife we fought for life and never lost our nerve. If the Army and the Navy ever looked on heaven's scenes, they will find the streets are guarded by United States Marines. Semper Fi. Hoorah. Alright, gotta get the gloves off so I can save the video this time. Thank you again for stopping by, chat, and everyone else who just wanted to watch. It's been fun reading these.